bushcraft fans, welcome to North Texas. This video is for Ben. There's a young man that lives in central Georgia. He is my cousin's son and recently discovered the art of blacksmithing. Blacksmithing is one of those noble arts that built this country, and along with carpentry and masonry, literally built this country from the ground up. Alright Ben, so here's what I got built for your little fire kit. I got some pine resin, some fatwood shavings ground down into powder. It has a lot of resin in it, so that'll catch fire really good. I took some jeans and I burnt them, basically charred them inside this little tin right here. Alright, that's your oven. That's what you're going to use to char your own char cloth. So basically what you're doing is you're removing most of the fuel, but you're leaving a little bit behind for when that spark lands on it. It'll actually spread a coal. Alright, I got some monkey fur in here for you. This is found on the saw palmetto tree. Alright, small shrub all over central Georgia, southern Georgia. It grows like a weed down there. Now, depending on what you have available in your area, you could always find inner bark. This is cottonwood, and the inner bark makes a great tinder. Pull some of that apart, make a bird's nest out of it. You can drop your coal right in the center. I like to save some of this stuff in a Ziploc bag and throw it in my pack. You never know when you're going to need it, because you're not always going to have a cottonwood tree around. I also threw in a piece of chaga. This is stuff that they find on birch trees up in the northern US. This is great stuff. This is a really good coal extender. And of course, the fire steel. Alright? Can't do without this. Last but not least, some nice Pedernales River flint. Alright, got this in Texas from one of my buddies at the San Saba bushcraft meet. Alright, got a whole bag of it for you, so you got plenty of practice on. A couple things you can use for char cloth. An old pair of jeans. Not ones you're currently wearing, but an old pair of jeans that don't fit you no more. You can take that, cut them into 1-inch squares and char that. Or you can take canvas. A lot of people say that works a lot better and it's a lot tougher. Alright, I threw some canvas in there for you. Some of the other things you can char are chunks of log. Alright, you flip over a rotten log and you see this alligator pattern on the bark. Take some of that out and it's all rotten. Alright, it's degraded to a point where you can char this when it dries out, and that makes a great coal extender. Alright, see, it's all mushy, it's got a lot of moisture in it right now. Dry that stuff out and then char it. All this stuff is wonderful, wonderful. All that crumbly punkwood, they call it. Right? That stuff's great. Comes off in layers, and it acts like paper when it's charred, pretty much. Right? A spark can land on it, and the stuff, the fire, the flame just spreads because there's still fuel in it. But you got to have it charred. I also have a piece of rope that you can fray, take apart, and make a bird's nest out of. Alright? And I also have a little piece of flint in there for you too. And you like to use old files, alright? The files are made out of W2, grade of steel, and they work great, just as is. All you have to do is take off the edge on a belt sander and make it nice and smooth. So that's what you're going to strike up against your rock. This was a mint tin that I got off of Cracker Barrel. Ate all the mints, and then you take the top and you take a ball peen hammer and you lay it on a piece of leather and you basically tap the inside of the lid until it domes out like that, nice and smooth. Gives you a little bit of extra room inside there. It's kind of neat. I also did the same thing to this lid too. Domed it out, put a little room in there. And then to secure it, take a piece of inner tube from a bike. It's called a Ranger band. Alright, that'll keep it nice and contained so stuff won't fall out. Because once you throw it in the fire, it's going to be annealed. And unless you have this little snap button on the end here, you see that? Unless you have that snap button there, this is not going to stay shut. So it's good to have a Ranger band around. Alright, so what we're going to do is get a nice clean surface that we can work on. I'm not going to use your stuff in the big tin, but I didn't bring my kit out, so I'm going to use a little bit of your materials out of the small bin, the small tin. Alright, so I'm going to take a piece of char cloth here. So I got two cameras going here. I'm going to edit it later to flip back and forth, because this is kind of a tricky thing to shoot. I want to make sure I get a couple of good angles so you can actually see what's going on. Alright, so I'm pulling out a piece of char cloth out of my little Ziploc bag here. And this stuff is pretty fragile. It's a little windy out today, so I hope that doesn't give me any trouble. Alright, so looking at that, you can see it's pretty well charred. Alright, there's a little bit of fuel left in there. Put them back. I like 1-inch squares because you can get little tiny Ziploc bags like this at Walgreens. Alright, and they work great. But what we want to do is get a piece of char cloth and lay it right on top of our rock, our flint. Alright. Keep about an 1/8 inch of space away from the edge, because that's the space that your spark is going to jump onto. Alright. Daytime is really hard to see this. You got to figure out what angle you need to be at. And just experiment with it. Sooner or later, one of those sparks is going to jump right on top of that char cloth. And there we go. Alright. You see it's starting to smolder a little bit because it caught right on the edge. And that puppy is going. And unfortunately, I don't have any monkey fur ready. That's what I was planning on doing. So we're going to go ahead and put him out. So today was pretty bright out. You couldn't see the spark jumping onto the char cloth and actually spreading. So what I want to do is do it in the garage here where there's just a little bit of shade, and that way you can see it spread. Alright. So I caught one of those little tiny fibers, and that's what you're trying to do. You're catching one little fiber on fire, and then it'll spread and it'll get bigger and bigger. This is the point where you would put it inside your bird's nest. Alright? Your cottonwood inner bark, your monkey fur, whatever you got. Take some dried grass if you need to. Alright, see how that's spreading? When that gets bigger, it's creating more heat. Alright? This is why you're charring it inside your little tin. You actually take this whole tin, you put your material in there, you throw it in a campfire, and you smolder it. All you need to do is put it on a few coals. The smoke will gather up inside, and what you're doing is you're burning cotton inside of an anaerobic atmosphere, which keeps the fuel behind, but chars the material so it takes a spark readily. Alright, see how that's growing? That's what you're wanting to do. Jump that right in your bird's nest and you're good to go. Neato, huh? Back to the video. Yeah, with this light you can't even see that it's lit. So this stuff called monkey fur, a buddy of mine collected this for me in South Georgia. Alright, you want to get a little bird's nest going. Alright, so let's try that again. Lay it right on the rock. Take your fire steel and just strike it against that corner. And what you're doing is shaving a little tiny piece of metal off of the edge of that metal. It's curling off of there so fast that it actually catches fire because of the friction. Okay, so it's smoldering. What I want to do is just wrap that up nice and tight and then blow into it. And there we go. Alright, now you would already have prepared a little pile of sticks to keep this fire going. Stuff about pinky size and smaller. The more smaller, the better. We're going to stamp that out, make sure it's out nice and good. Alright, so I'm sending this monkey fur. Alright, go find some of this stuff. It's wonderful stuff, it really is. You got a bag of rocks. I'm also sending a little patch with my logo on it. Alright, so what you're going to do when you're making your kindling, put this against your chest so that when you take your knife and you start shaving those little kindling pieces off, you'll actually have something to push up against your chest to get a good amount of curls off of. Alright, so when you shave your kindling up. Alright, so enjoy that fire kit, Ben. I know you're going to love it. This is a great hobby. Enjoy. So it's been almost, a little over a year and a half, almost 2 years that I've made a video related to bushcraft. The fans keep coming, man. The subscriptions are up there. Today, March 20th, I believe it is, 474 subscribers. Thank you. Number 500 gets a free knife. Tell your friends about me. Get out there.